Hello everybody, Stewart and Swerdlow here.
And Janet Swerdlow.
And this is the Expansions News Podcast for mid-July 2017. It's the middle of frickin' July already. Do you know that like 6 more weeks is fall?
Do you know in 6 weeks is our September Spectacular?
No.
So if you
Get
haven't made your arrangements to come, it's like you better get that done.
It's going to be like bing, so fast. Yeah. And do not, if you're coming, take United Airlines unless you wear a helmet. And don't take any of your pets. They'll wind up in Argentina. Seriously. Did you see that I guess he's a rap singer, that his dog was sent to the wrong city? I
saw the headlines of somebody, but you know, those things happen.
Like, of course, it's United Airlines. But then they said things today about Delta, which I don't know if I believe that's true. I like Delta.
They're just trying to make it so people don't want to travel. That's all.
Right, exactly correct.
And they're not telling you can't travel. They're just making you make the choice.
And speaking of travel,
yes,
which it's not part of my news, but since you brought it up, the United States State Department issued travel warnings to certain countries, and guess what? It's like everyone I've ever been in. You know, really, it's like, don't go to any place Stewart has been. Yeah, so. You know what they should issue a travel warning to? The United States.
Well, so you tell people to come to our seminars and then now tell people not to come because they should issue a travel warning to the United States. So
it was a humorous joke.
Yeah, I can see everybody out there laughing.
I can hear them.
It's so funny.
Yeah, okay, back to me.
It's always
Please,
been to you.
Go to Brown. Calm down. Okay, so, speaking of countries that have, which actually, these countries actually do have a travel warning, Israel and Saudi Arabia. So Israel is trying to persuade Saudi Arabia to have a special Hajj pilgrimage flight to Mecca from Tel Aviv airport, which would be first time ever. Because if you are an Israeli Muslim, and there's like almost 1 million of them, that wants to go to Mecca for the Hajj, which is every Muslim must make Hajj to Mecca once in their lifetime. If you are an Israeli Muslim, then you have to take a 1,000-mile bus route across the Jordan River, through the Saudi desert to reach the shrine, which, if you've ever used those buses, is not a good thing. Israel wants its Muslim citizens to fly directly from Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion International Airport to Mecca. The problem is that Saudi Arabia and Israel at the moment do not have diplomatic relations, but they have drawn closer in recent years due to their common enemy, which is Iran, and I've told you about this many, many times. Saudi Arabia is the world's biggest oil exporter, which I disagree with this article because Russia has more oil than Saudi Arabia, and the Saudis are the ones who actually wanted air traffic between Israel and Saudi Arabia under the condition that the Israelis accept the Palestinian state and withdraw from the occupied territories from 1967, which the Israelis are not willing to do. Now, facilitating the pilgrimage to Mecca is one of the inducing items to bring peace between Saudi Arabia and Israel. And according to, what is the person's name? Kara. His name is Kara, who is one of Benjamin Netanyahu's personal advisors and a high-ranking person. He says that the Israelis are negotiating so that there can be overflights for Israeli air carriers to Asia. Right now they have to go north, over Turkey, across Turkey, and then into Asia to avoid Arabian airspace. So what they would like to do is go right across Saudi Arabia to Asia. But I'm going to tell you something, a secret, which is not really a secret anymore. Saudi Arabia, in the northern part of Saudi Arabia, is a big bleak desert. And the Saudis have allowed Israeli military aircraft to land there in order to do something to Iran. Did you know that? Mm-hmm. You did know that? Someone might tell them, why am I saying anything? And in addition, there's an increasing number of Israeli companies that have been doing business in Saudi Arabia and in the Gulf states. And this guy Qatar that I told you is a Druze Arab who fought in the Israeli military, opposes a Palestinian state, and is very loyal to Netanyahu, and he believes that the Gulf countries will deepen their commercial ties with Israel. So there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that are not in the news because the Muslim Arab world does not want to look like they are helping Israel, but in fact they are and are loyal to them. Now, let's go a little bit further east to China. And China, this is very interesting because if you say, what countries have military bases in other parts of the world instead of just their own country, the only answer is the United States. The United States has military bases all over the world, and yet if Russia steps 1 foot over their border, they attack Russia for doing that. Well, it seems that China has set up its first overseas base in Africa, in the Horn of Africa, and it is a global. China would like to be a global military power. They have set their troops in a country of Djibouti. You know Djibouti? No? Djibouti is in the northeast corner of Africa, and it's a very small country right on there's the Arabian Sea is between that Horn of Africa and the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. Now, China also has an artificial military island in the South China Seas. China is, if you read my Blue Blood book...
I'm supposed to raise it up?
Yes, please. My lovely assistant will raise up my Blue Blood book. Actually, maybe it's not that book. Maybe it's another book. I don't know.
Maybe it's this one.
Maybe it's the
Maybe it's True World History.
Or maybe it's in a video on YouTube. I don't know.
Maybe it doesn't
exist.
But
I think it's in both anyway.
These two?
But, yes, okay, lovely assistant, you may put the books down. Thank you very much. And China, or the Chinese people, especially the males, are going to be the new world order army globally. Why? Because they're easily identifiable and they have no loyalties to non-Asian citizens. And that's why there are more males than females in China. Not only, China has a one-child policy, which now is changing to two-child policy. So in other words, if your first child was a girl, they'll allow you to try for a second one, which is a boy. But if you have a second child, which is a girl, you're done. So anyway, they have more males than females in China. Why? So that these males, when they'll join the army, or they're taken into the army, and they're sent to wherever the Chinese want them to go. China is all over Africa, South America, the Middle East, and the Caribbean. The Chinese have a lot of money, trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, which they are using to build the infrastructure of supposedly third world countries like in Africa, Caribbean, etc. Except, you know what happens? They build these bridges, they build the buildings, and like a few years later, they fall down. Cheap, cheap, cheap. Okay? Like we could do more. Okay, we do more. You go now. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. And China is also, bringing it back to the Israelis, China is also financing Israeli projects and space launches. And China and Israel have one of the largest military deals in the world. Now, almost since last week, India now has one of the largest military deals with Israel of all other countries. How you like that one? I bet you didn't know that, did you, Janae?
I know all those things, yes.
You do know all those things?
I do.
So why am I even saying it?
To help them understand.
Oh, okay. Anyway, let's come back to the United States. And guess what happened in Florida?
What?
Does anything good ever happen in Florida?
Something must.
No.
Something good must happen.
Why?
Because?
No, nothing good happens. Like the earth tilts and all the dredges fall into Florida, like all the
I
mentally
thought maybe you were going to
deranged
be
people.
going there maybe before the year's over,
Maybe.
right?
Yes, but to fix them.
Is that what it is?
Yes, yes. Anyway, a sinkhole in Florida swallowed up 2 houses, but thankfully has appeared to stop expanding. 9 other houses have been evacuated. Guess what the name of the town is? Land O'Lakes. No, you get butter? Land O'Lake butter?
Yeah.
Well, this is near Tampa, and it's a residential area 20 miles north of Tampa. The sinkhole opened up. It's 250 feet by 225 feet and 50 feet deep. It's full of water, and it's not draining. And here's a surprise. Authorities have not said what caused the sinkhole. You know why? Because if they did, people would flee Florida. Sinkholes are very common in Florida, and it says, according to this article, this part is true, Florida is on an unbroken bed of limestone, which is like chalk. It's like you could crumble it with your hands. And there's actually a Florida Sinkhole Research Institute. That is like so funny to me. A Florida Sinkhole Research Institute. And they said that these sinkholes often develop in central Florida, including the Tampa area. But remember, people, what I have said, which I think, again, lovely assistant, is in the Blue Blood book and True World History book. I don't know, I'm sure if it's not, you'll let me know. But if you don't map of Florida, what does it look like? A large, what does Florida look like?
Tail.
No. Male genitalia. That's what Florida looks like. So if you look at a map, people, and draw a line from Tampa to Orlando to Daytona, everything south of there is sinking. And that's why the sinkholes are opening up. Everything north of there to the Georgia border, and even beyond the Georgia border a little bit, is a swamp. And that's why I've told you that when we talk about the underground tunnel systems and the super fast trains that go almost light speed, there's only one station in Florida, because according to the secret government, they cannot build any stations south of the Panhandle because it's just limestone and swamp, and it just collapses. So Florida is a very dangerous place to be, and I've told you this many times. Now, let's move a little bit to Europe. Remember Tony Blair? Who I like to call him Tony Blah. Anyway, he was the former Prime Minister of the UK, and he says that, UK is leaving the EU under the Brexit plan, and he says that the EU is examining plans that would make it much more comfortable for Britain to stay in the EU. He will not disclose the conversations, but he's not speaking on a whim. Yes. Well, the EU has previously said that Britain cannot enjoy the benefits of free trade with the other 27 member states without accepting the principles of free movement. Are they talking about like digestive issues? I'm not sure about that actually. Which would make it easier for EU citizens to work and travel within that bloc. So basically, Tony Blair is trying to convince the UK to stay in the EU because why? So then all the Central and Eastern European people can still go there, get jobs, remove national identity for the UK, and bring it into the New World Order. That's basically what he's doing. Tony Blair's an evil, shape-shifting reptilian.
So why don't they allow them to use the euro? Why do they have different currencies?
Because we are not amused.
If they're in the EU, they should use the euro.
Yeah. Right. But Britain has the pound, and
Right.
that is like their identity. You understand? It's their pound of flesh, as it said from the Middle Ages. So no, they're never going to give that up. But I'll tell you why, Missy Janet. Because, and I predicted this. Oh, did I say that in the Blue Blood book? I don't know. Is it possible? I don't know. It's possible. Thank you, lovely assistant. You know, I probably should saw you in half or something like that. Would that be fun?
How about if I did that to you?
You have. You like pulled my hair out and all kinds of... Anyway, the UK will join with other English-speaking countries under a Windsor New World Order. So that means UK, Canada, US, Australia, New Zealand, and so on. All the English-speaking countries are joining militaries, they're joining economies, blah, blah, blah. You will see that this is happening. Now, while we're still in North America, you know what's going on just south of the border.
What?
Let me tell you.
How about your seminars?
Well, we'll get to that in a moment, but that's not till 2018. But thank you for bringing that up. There is a town in Mexico called Pueblo Viejo. Repéteme. Pueblo Viejo. That means old town. And apparently, there's a volcano developing underneath it. That's pretty scary. How do they know that this is happening? Guess where it said Michoacan, Michigan, Michoacan. We know there's a connection, do we not? And this started last Sunday, actually, when the villagers discovered that some of their goats were burned up. I'm sorry, it's not funny, especially if you're a goat. But they were burned up.
Or if you own the goat.
Yeah, but you had food previously cooked.
Now if they're burned up, then you can't eat them.
Yeah. Well, why not? Just...
Because they're burned up.
Well, anyway.
It didn't say cooked, it said burned up.
The soccer field started to break apart, and steam, ash, and gas were released into the air. Quite honestly, I have done that personally, but we won't even discuss that. Now, according to the authorities, the soil in this area was 250 degrees Celsius, which is almost 500 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's hot.
That's hot. And according to the state, this is the interesting part. Please pay attention to this, people. Talk about cover-up. The state civil protection coordinator, Pedro Carlos Mandujano, told the Mexican news service that it's just likely a geothermal phenomenon occurred as the soil is composting. Really? Soil compost at 500 degrees Fahrenheit? I don't think so. So this is a BS story. And once they do that, you know something really major is happening. So people are on high alert because Pueblo Viejo is very close to Paracutin, which is a volcano 200 miles away. And listen to this, Paracutin was formed suddenly in a cornfield in 1943. It's a volcano which grew to 1,000 feet tall from a cornfield. Hello? That's scary. And according to the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History, which I really would trust them, it's been dormant since 1952. Do you believe that? Yeah, you know why? Because all the energy now is pushed to this Pueblo Viejo, and there's a new volcano forming up there.
Or it could be all underground, we don't know.
Well, yeah. And so, and this is interesting, Mexico has 3,000 volcanoes. That reminds me of Alaska, which has also like many.
Like 95, I think.
Active
Yeah,
volcanoes.
and then I think what people don't realize is all down along through Central America, there are volcanoes off the coast there.
And on the mainland as well.
Yes.
And there's a Maya legend, not a story that they told from the sky gods that said that there will come a time when an offshore volcano will erupt and sink Central America into the ocean. Which is, guess what, Missy? No, it's okay, you don't have to.
I don't have to show it again?
No, it's okay.
You think they've got it?
Do they ever really get it? Seriously, really?
No.
No. So I have things for the future, but maybe you should do your thing now.
Let me tell my news.
Tell your news.
All right. Well, my news begins here at home in the U.S.
I thought you meant like in our home.
President Trump.
Is he in our
Now,
home?
he is always in the news, as you know, because he's the president now.
And he has really funny orange hair.
Representative Jim Himes of Connecticut has said, quote, Pretty much every president before this one has understood that the media is absolutely essential to our liberty. Dictators attack the media. Unquote.
Can I translate that? If the media isn't controlled by you, it is false, fake news.
What is interesting is all the violence, and that, in my opinion, that Trump is perpetuating. Although, as I reported on the last podcast, he says that he doesn't promote violence. So we want to remember about the video that Trump shared, which is a wrestling video in which he battled an opponent.
But that was supposedly not from him.
No, but he tweeted it. He, perpetuated it. Doesn't matter if he created it or not. So anyway, after forcing the CNN wrestler to the mat, Trump throws a couple of punches at his head. Now this was followed up by former president of Mexico, speaking of Mexico, Vincent Fox.
Now, is Fox a Mexican name?
No.
No.
But this is what we have. So anyway, former President Fox of Mexico says that, actually he started a video. And in his video, it says that his suggestions for Trump came from a book about toddlers, but they don't tell us what that book was. And the video begins, quote, "I know that you don't want to end the world, but you're a hot-tempered man, Donald."
This is a children's book.
This is what they're saying. "When it comes to war, it is important to slow down. So I made a list of 5 questions that I want you to ask yourself before you push the button." Then Fox goes on. Quote, "Ask yourself before you start a war, would you fight in it? Not now, obviously. You'd be useless unless we get attacked by golf balls. But back when you dodged the Vietnam draft, when bone spurs..."
Did he?
That's what he's saying. "When bone spurs prevented you from serving your country but not serving on the tennis court."
I think it's a misprint. It's brain spurs.
Well, then he goes on and he says that Fox points out time has to be given for issues to be worked out with words and not with bombs. Quote, "I know patience is not your strong suit, so I looked up some tips in a book about toddlers." So he doesn't say which ones. And then he goes on.
This is a Mexican former president,
yes.
actually.
According to this, he has a video about this.
But of course he said it in Spanish.
Of course. It says, "When a little kid gets fidgety, sometimes a treat can help. So I suggest you keep a bag of cookies in the nuclear suitcase, and that way, if you ever open it, you find the yummy cookies, and maybe you don't feel like ending all life on Earth."
Ooh, that's right.
Now again, this is one president to another, so to me this is...
President.
Well, but point being still, is it's pretty inflammatory and pretty juvenile.
Duh.
Then it goes on, and he says if snacks don't work, then Fox suggests video games to keep Trump's restless mind active during his early morning strolls around the White House in his bathrobe.
Does he do that?
Then he goes on to say, quote, "Do you want to be a hero? Because you can, and it is so easy. All you have to do is quit. Just walk away. It will make so many people happy, including you. And you can finally golf again, and you can go back to the woman you love, Ivanka."
Woo! So, you go, Mexican president.
So in my opinion, this is very juvenile things, which they are appealing to the lowest part of humanity to accept. Because
so
now they're...
Wait, so you think it's the animal mind?
Yes, I do. Because that's where they get people tied in. Then, and moving on to Germany, apparently...
Jawohl.
The U.S. is no longer called a friend by German Chancellor...
You're not a friend? What are you?
In their campaign program for the German election, the Conservatives have dropped the term friend in describing the relationship with the U.S.
What do they call us now?
4 years ago, they referred to the U.S. as Germany's most important friend outside of Europe. In 2013, the program described the friendship with Washington as a cornerstone of Germany's international relations and talked about strengthening the transatlantic economic ties through the removal of trade barriers. But the words friend and friendship are missing, and her election...
it's in German.
Her election program is called, quote, "For a Germany in which we live well and happily." So people are pointing to this...
Okay, listen to me very carefully. You know that I work in Germany every year. It's not happy. They're not happy people.
Point is this is the show, again, being perpetuated. So we're Germany's friend? No, we're not Germany's friend. Of course, Trump is German. We don't want to forget that.
Half German, half Scottish.
And we don't want to forget that the British royal family is German. So we have Germans all over the world, and now they're trying, for your average person who doesn't know history, to make them think that this is escalating.
Most people have no idea about history.
And now, going back to Trump's most retweeted video, which was that clip of him,
Did you see it?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. Everybody saw it.
I didn't see it.
No, everybody.
I just saw like an image of it.
Then, in retribution to that, Donald Trump Jr. tweeted a Top Gun video showing his dad shooting a CNN jet down. And that was then
A who jet down?
a CNN jet.
Oh.
Yeah. He tweeted, now they said they don't know who made it, yet he tweeted a video of a doctored clip of the 1986 military thriller called Top Gun. And in it, President Trump's face is superimposed over Tom Cruise's
Who was the pilot of the CNN plane?
character. And he shoots down a Russian jet with a CNN logo on it. And then Trump is seen in the clip repeating his "you're fired" words before he launches the missile. And Trump Jr. called the video one of the best I've seen.
Of course he is, because he's brain dead.
Then we move on to Kathy Griffin.
I love Kathy Griffin.
You do?
Except when she held his head. I thought
Well,
that was tasteless.
that's what I said.
That was very tasteless.
She has a controversial photo where she's seen holding a fake severed head of Trump. So supposedly she was questioned by the Secret Service.
Well, she should have been.
For an extended period of time, and now they canceled shows in New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania.
Her whole career is over.
They said that she could no longer co-host the CNN
New
Live,
Year's Eve,
even though Trump did whatever he did to CNN, all over the place.
Right.
The New Jersey Governor Chris Christie called
Who's
her
a
act
pig.
disgusting and said the photo was outrageous.
He called her disgusting?
Yeah.
Did you see the picture of him on the beach? Seriously?
Yeah. But the point is, they're taking these supposed world leaders and they're turning them into caricatures, and they are turning them into like juveniles that are out there kicking sand in everybody's face or the head.
People grow up.
Exactly.
Like me.
Yes, just like
I'm
Stewart.
very mature now.
And then moving on, continuing on with Trump Jr. This was interesting because I'm sure you've heard about this email, the stuff that's been going on.
Oh yes, with the Russian thing.
And former Assistant Watergate Special Prosecutor Jill Wine-Banks drew a clear line on Donald Trump Jr.'s meeting with a Russian attorney, saying that, which revealed in the email, of course, which we know that he was receiving was part of a Russian strategy to assist his father, blah, blah.
Right.
Now, this was the part that's interesting. Right. She said it is collusion with a foreign adversary if they were working together to get the information from the Russian government.
Okay, can I think, you know what Alex Jones said? Do you know what he said?
No.
That, hello, it was a plot to identify Russian spies, and so that Trump was actually being a patriotic citizen.
Well,
he also said that there were children being kidnapped for sex slavery on Mars.
It's important, I think, that the word collusion was used because they're setting Trump up. He's being kicked around by world leaders. He's kicking back, and as I've told you before, they are imprinting society as a whole with this rage and I get you and you get me and everybody gets this person.
I'm so glad I have no rage. Is that correct?
Oh, I'm so glad too.
I am as calm as can be.
So I thought that was interesting. And then moving on to one of your favorite characters, Kim Jong-un.
Kim Jong-un? You got on now.
Apparently North Korea shot off its first ever intercontinental ballistic missile July 4th, which is official U.S. Independence Day.
You know what I think? I shouldn't even say it.
No, don't say it. U.S. military and intelligence personnel watched Kim Jong-un smoke cigarettes, stroll around the launch pad.
He smoked cigarettes?
For 70 minutes.
How do you like
now,
that?
the U.S. claims that they knew North Korea was in the final stages of building an ICBM after the rocket test, and they knew that North Korea liked to test missiles on Independence Day to send a message.
But they still let them do it.
They knew the missile was different than any they'd ever seen before. Doesn't it sound like a perfect plot?
Right, we knew everything.
Yes, and the U.S. knew it could destroy it.
Everything.
And this article, remember, this is an article, not intelligence. This is
no, there's no intelligence.
No, they want this out for the masses. Okay, so if this is a real article, they're not going to tell you this, but they want you to know, the masses, the U.S. had Kim Jong-un in their crosshairs for over an hour, and they still did nothing. So
brilliant.
They're basically saying that North Korea's security is bad. And that the U.S. is watching, and if they wanted to kill Kim Jong-un, they could.
Really? So what are they waiting
for?
But
because they had an easy shot and they didn't. So the U.S. is going to demonstrate its not intent on killing him and that it could communicate there's no need to continue the missile program.
You know what I think?
What?
These missile launches are Kim Jong's way of masturbating.
How do you get that?
Missiles exploding.
Anyway.
And you know what? They always go.
Point being is again, this is a
Poor
show.
Kim.
Because if they wanted to kill somebody, they'd kill him. You wouldn't hear about it, and they could cover it up saying, he died of a heart attack. Who knows? Or it was an insider
He's like
job.
400 pounds.
So the point being is this is still part of the show for you to get you upset and scared and angry about.
I'm terrified. I'm terrified.
Okay, and this one I actually thought was an interesting article.
What's that?
This is the House Armed Service Committee. Here back in the U.S., approved a version of the 2018 military budget that created a 6th military branch.
I didn't even know how many we have to begin with.
Well, now we have 5. We have Army, Navy, Marine
How do
Corps,
you know all
Coast Guard, and Air Force,
Well,
because
you
I'm reading
cheated.
it right
You
now on my
cheated. You
paper.
cheated.
There has not been a new branch added to the added since the Air Force was added in 1947.
I'm sorry, so what's the new one?
I haven't said. The new one is called the Space Corps.
Ooh, I should be in that one.
So my feeling is if they do this, because according to the article, the Congress isn't likely to add the Space Corps for a while, which means it's already been added. But once they add it publicly, they will get a ton of people signing up for that because
And
people are going to want to go into space.
And they will be space cadets.
Yes, and they will sign up willingly. You might not want to sign up for the Army, you might not want to sign up for any of these others.
It's going to be in space.
People are going to want to sign up.
Kim Jong-un's ejaculation.
And driving the drones or piloting the drones in this space thing and that space thing and going to different planets. They will make it so attractive. We will have men and women and whatever gender you identify.
Would you go?
I'm not a fighter.
I think you are.
No, I'm not. So that's not my thing. But there will be a lot of people who will be interested once it's up and running officially. And then, speaking of space, in Beijing.
Beijing.
The 4 students from Beijing University of Aeronautics and Astronautics went behind sealed steel doors of 2 bunkers in a Beijing suburb, where these university students are going to find out how it feels to live in space on another space station on another planet. And they're going to recycle everything from plant cuttings to urine. And they're going to live there for 200 days self-sufficiently.
200 days.
Apparently, President Xi Jinping wants China to become a global power in space exploration.
Yeah, but that matches my story about their military
Yes,
expansion.
but listen to this. This is very interesting because they have plans to send the first probe to the dark side of the moon by 2018. Now, we don't hear about the dark side
You know
of
what
the
you're
moon.
going to find there, don't you?
Yeah, lots of reptilian type stuff.
And the Fourth Reich.
Reptilian type stuff. So, and then China wants to put astronauts on the moon by 2030.
You know what they're going to do when they go on the dark side? Now we urinate on the Nazi base.
And China, I thought I'd throw in a positive thing, that China is also building a forest city.
A forest city.
To combat air pollution, and it's going to build apartments.
They make air
offices,
pollution.
schools, and it'll be home to 30,000 residents.
Really?
1 million trees.
How many
1
takeout
million
restaurants
plants,
and
40,000 trees, expected to soak up 10,000.
You know, I think they're going to the dark side of the moon for takeout.
Expected to soak up 10,000 ton of carbon dioxide, 57 ton of fine dust pollutants a year, and produce roughly 900 tons of oxygen annually.
I need 900 tons.
So I thought that was interesting about China. And speaking of the Fourth Reich.
Fourth Reich. We went
down to Antarctica. You might have heard about the massive iceberg.
My sister's going to China today.
Yeah.
I think that she's a spy.
A massive iceberg weighing more than 1 trillion ton has broken away from western Antarctica. Now,
that would be so good in my drink.
Now, what's interesting is that scientists have confirmed it via NASA's satellite. And a professor from Swansea University says...
Wait, that's in Britain, isn't it?
I think so.
Swansea's in Wales.
This is
That's a whale of a story.
This is part of the normal behavior of ice shelves. What we're seeing is unusual. So,
no, really not.
No, what makes this unusual is the size. So.
Right, but it's not strange. It's over water, it's not on land.
And he says that calving is natural.
Right.
But now this is from Wales. The U.S. scientists, however, claim that it's clear that global warming
is the winter in Antarctica
is contributing to the broader destabilization of Antarctica.
Okay, may I explain? it's been so freaking cold in Antarctica that the ice extended over the ocean because it couldn't even be contained in land, and it got so freaking heavy it broke off, which means it's cold.
Yes. But again, the U.S. scientists are saying this is another wake-up call.
You know, U.S. scientists is like, bozo. Translate to bozo.
Antarctica is on the rise. We should be concerned about what that means for future
We should be concerned
levels.
about the stupid lies coming from the United States.
Remember the last podcast, I reported that an island appeared off of the coast.
North Carolina.
Right. So,
that's not global weather. The sea's dropping,
right.
not going up.
Yeah, so it's interesting. We have one story that comes out of Wales, and now we have another story that's coming out of the U.S.
But still, it's Britain. I'm surprised they said that.
I was too, because usually they align with the U.S.
Right.
So I don't know what's going on. But this one, I had to chuckle this next story.
You chuckled?
Because this is about cutting flatulence to save the planet. And this was very interesting.
That takes care of me.
There was a dairy farmer in Kenya. That's how they start this story.
Kenya?
It was a BBC video.
Yeah.
And so this woman was talking about her cows and how happy she is and blah, blah, and how much more, what she's doing to change it. But it turns out that, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, how many cows?
Because you were a cow dairy farmer.
I know, that's the only dairy farm you have is cow. Well, you could have goats, I guess, or
Hello.
sheep.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Piggies.
so when she was talking about it, I'm thinking, okay, Kenya, how many cows could she have? Like 3?
Well, no, there could be a lot.
It turns out she has 5.
Oh, it's a lot.
But what was interesting to me is then they were talking about how they're...
Wait, were they cows or like women?
That's not nice.
Okay.
So anyway, they talked about how that they used to take their cows and just move them along the roadside. Now she keeps them in a pen, and they go out and they cut the feed and bring it in. So
they cut the what?
Feed.
Uh-huh.
And they bring it in and feed the cows.
Mm-hmm.
So what was interesting to me is at the end of the story, they tell you there's a company called, let's see if I have it here, I know what it is, but I'm not sure. Danon, D-A-N-O-N-E.
That's a company?
Dairy. Is part owner of her cows. Now the woman has 5 cows, right?
Yeah, that's not a lot.
So well, she probably had 1 and they bought her 4. Because it's, it's a lot of money to have a cow.
It is?
Yeah, and especially if you're in a country like that. And,
so that's why they say don't have a cow, because it's so expensive?
Maybe. So anyway, and then they go on to say, get this, because I've been talking about how the global handlers are working on cultivating Africa. This Danon Dairy wants to involve 30,000 Kenyans in its program.
Human Kenyans or cow Kenyans?
Human Kenyans.
Okay.
They want to involve 30,000 human Kenyans in this program. So if they take 30,000 Kenyans and they
Obama's
and they buy them cows and they own part in their dairy, then again we are owning Africa. It's not freedom. It might look that to these people in the beginning, and then you know what's going to happen? Then they're going to grow the dairies and the people won't be able to handle it, and those poor little people who started the infrastructure are going to be out.
And then they'll ask for Chinese money who will give them new cow dairy technology that'll break in 2 years.
Yeah, and so they claim now that by these people feeding the cows correctly is going to cut flatulence to save the planet.
Oh, thank God.
Now, how bizarre is that? So, in other words, the woman had 1 cow, which probably didn't produce much flatulence. First of all, we're going to go their route.
You're using nice words.
Then we're gonna go their route. So now they've increased her herd 5 times, right? So now she has 5 cows. That's more flatulence.
Right.
But if she feeds them properly, there's not going to be as much flatulence. That's the premise of this story.
So if you fed me properly, I wouldn't have so much flatulence.
So if this is the case, okay, if cows' flatulence does contribute to global warming, why do they want to add more, and how is feeding them better? So with that in the back of your mind, to think how stupid this story is, there are dairy cows all across
the earth.
The earth, exactly. And especially, first world countries. And then not to mention these little, 1 and 2 cow herds throughout third world countries, right? So it's like these dairy cows are fed like the best food ever to get them to produce milk. So why do we want to make her feed these cows better food? Well, I don't understand how this is going to cut flatulence.
Please, you must read this line. It's hilarious.
I'm going to when I get that far. Okay, then moving along. Okay, this is Kenya, Africa. Now we move on to Argentina. Argentina.
Don't cry for me.
And this is, again, ridiculous. Some Argentine cattle farmers have outfitted their cows with backpacks that act as containers for cow flatulence.
The cow packs.
So they have a picture of a cow wearing these backpacks. Now, it's like, okay.
They have like little books and pencils.
What about wild animals where that nobody, and they're eating naturally what they're supposed to eat, and they're flatulence?
I think all animals should have a backpack.
So why do we pick on dairy cows?
It's not fair.
What about horses and pigs and chickens?
There should be a horse pack.
And chickens.
chicken pack.
And so this is so ridiculous to me. And then it goes on to dairy farmers. And I'll read the line that you saw. Dairy farmers in California say anti-flatulence law stinks. Okay?
I love it.
There's a new state law aimed to reduce methane from cows, but the cattle industry thinks the regulation stinks. Quote, the general manager of the Milk Producers Council, which is an industry group in California representing dairy farmers, says, I don't have a whole lot of hope that common sense will prevail. Because this is ridiculous. This is like
there is no common sense.
Beyond ridiculous.
No, seriously.
Because every animal that walks the earth has flatulence.
Passes gas.
Whether it's human
Wait,
or...
I just did a Trump. It's huge, people. It's huge.
Anyway, I just thought that was so absolutely ridiculous. So if you're reading that dairy cows produce methane and that's contributing to global warming, of which is a farce anyway.
Well, then I'm contributing to global warming.
Yes, so let's make you wear a pack for your flatulence.
Yeah, get me a backpack.
Yeah, we could start a whole
stew
forest.
pack. Get me a stew pack.
So I'm just saying this is so ridiculous, and if people are believing this, I'm sorry, you know, you're going to have to go back to school. So you're down on this Trump level. So don't be on that Trump level. Don't participate in this crap. More crap, okay?
He's a lot of hot air anyway.
Gender, whatever, confusion.
Fluidity.
No, gender confusion. It's not even fluidity. It's gender confusion going on. An 8-month-old baby is possibly, not the article, possibly, the first person in the world to have their gender marked as unknown on their health card in Canada.
A?
They get a U standing for undetermined or unassigned.
How? But why?
Now,
could they not look in its lower parts and see what it has?
Now, the birth certificate, that official record, they will not put it unassigned.
But why?
Well, because they're starting gender confusion up in Canada.
What happened to this child that made it that way?
I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
The parent, it only has one parent apparently, Corey.
It was a parthenogenesis baby?
Corey Doty does not identify as male or female.
Oh.
Prefers to use the pronoun they and wants to raise the baby genderless until the baby has a sense of self and command.
They need mental therapy. And
command of vocabulary to tell me who they are.
They are insane. Okay,
and this Cody Dory, they said, I don't know why they say I'm recognized. Let's just say we.
How dare she say I'm? I'm insulted. I'm offended.
Let's just say we, but they say I. At least this is the quote. This is a misquote. I'm
so
recognizing.
I is they.
Yes. No, I is we. Because if I'm speaking, it's a we.
Oh.
Okay. I'm recognizing them as a baby and trying to give them all the love and support to be the most whole person they can be outside of the restrictions that come with the boy box and the girl box.
A boy box and a girl box? Listen to me.
Yeah.
The way you use they and them means multiple personality disorder / programming.
Programming mind control. We talk all about that in 13 Cubed, which this person obviously needs, and the true reality of sexuality. Because unless you have a chromosomal thing going on, you're a male or a female.
Truly. You know, if something is protruding from your body, most likely you're a male. If something is inside, most likely you're a female.
Yeah, except for if you have chromosomal things going on, which happens with true intersex people, not this crap that they're teaching you. Okay, now, because of all this, provinces, including Ontario, are reviewing their policies and may include a I don't know how you can say this, BONAR, B-O-N-A-R, gender option on official documents
Wash your mouth out with soap.
In the future. And Doty believes...
That's why Canada is brain dead.
But this is easier because then as your gender changes, then it's much easier.
They're just so nuts in Canada.
Well, it's the whole world. Now, following up on that, I came across a website, very interesting.
And we're surrounded by Canada.
That there's a woman named Diane Aronsaft who is a top pediatric gender therapist in the U.S. And so there's this little video clip which was so bizarre. So apparently somebody stood up and said, what about children who are pre-verbal? How do we know if they...
they can't speak.
Pre-verbal. Cannot speak yet.
Right.
So she claims, like for example, if your child is say 1 or 2 and can't really talk, and if it's assigned gender is a girl, and you put barrettes in the hair and the girl rips them out.
I've ripped mine out.
That's a clue that the girl wants to be a boy.
Ooh.
Now the thing that listen to me, there are many indigenous societies where they decorate the hair of boys and girls.
Right. And of course we know that 8-month-old children love to have things in their hair and would never take them out.
Exactly. So if they were assigned a girl and they rip out their breasts, that means they really want to be a boy.
That's
but what
brilliant.
I want to know is indigenous cultures, when boys have stuff put in their hair and they rip them out, you know, what does that mean? Or girls have it. I mean, so, or they both have it. What does it mean? And now listen, this was even a better one.
What?
This supposed expert, a top pediatric gender therapist, okay, on boys. This is how you identify if a boy's really a girl. I'm trying to tell you.
Tell me.
Okay, there have been instances where you put children in onesies, and if the boys unsnap their onesies, they have a dress. And so this means they were assigned the wrong gender at birth. Now, listen.
Wait. Who assigns a gender? He has a penis, he's a boy. He has a vagina, he's a girl. That's not an assignment. It's like, this is what they freaking have.
Unless there is a chromosomal issue. But she's talking
The issue's in the doctor's head.
Now, this is what I want to tell you. Okay, look at all the men in Scotland in their kilts.
Oh, don't you talk anything about Scotland.
So because they're wearing
my name is Stewart.
A kilt, a slash skirt, does that mean all the men in Scotland want to really be girls?
Yes, that's true.
Okay, and then what about all the countries in the Middle East where the men wear robes?
They're girls too, yeah.
So there you go. So this woman is like totally berserk.
And she's an expert.
She's a top pediatric expert.
Oh my God.
And then,
from where? Don't tell me Canada.
I don't know.
Probably Canadian.
And then, no, this was the next thing that was still on the same woman's website, which was very interesting. The Bill Nye the Science Guy, most people have heard the name. He has a new program called Bill Nye Saves the World.
He does?
And so she was playing this little video thing, and there's a sitcom actress named Rachel Bloom, and she sings a song that says you have to choose between John or Joyce. You have to choose between hard or moist. Look, get this one. Your vagina has its own voice.
It does?
And then she goes, and this is, you have to watch the clip, it's insane. Then she goes on, she doesn't call your genitalia by its correct name, she calls it sex junk. So, you know.
No, the junk isn't between her ears.
Then she goes on to say that versatile love may have butt stuff, which means anal sex, sex stew.
That's me.
There's a sexuality spectrum and pansexuality.
What does that mean, pansexuality?
That means you're attracted to everything.
Real? Like a piano?
Yes,
or
it could be anything.
Fish tank?
Yes, it could be absolutely anything.
Uh-huh.
And then the woman who does the commentary, she says anal intercourse is dangerous and unhealthy. Now, Bill Nye is an engineer, mechanical engineer.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
And Rachel Bloom is a sitcom actress, but yet they're singing this song and telling people how wonderful it is. And then at the end, Bill Nye, the quote-unquote science guy, says, it's exactly the right message, Rachel. Nice job.
Yeah, if you're an androgynous, reptilian, mind-control, New World Order freak.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. And then this other thing that I saw on this woman's site was that Teen Vogue. Now, most of you know Vogue, the fashion magazine.
Yeah, I read it every day.
Yeah, so they have also
Teen Vogue is me.
Yeah, well, that's targeted to children 11 to 17 years old. Yes, I guess that would be you.
Actually, I'm 7. So
it's too old for you then.
Yeah.
But for teenagers, or children, because not all of them are teenagers, 11 to 17 is Teen Vogue's target audience.
Right.
They have explicit details on how to have anal sex, how to masturbate, how to have gay sex, and gender fluidity. So this is how your children
are that's in the magazine.
Well, that last part was in a magazine. But anyway, unbelievable.
And we want to know why the United States has disappeared.
It's not just the U.S., honey. This stuff goes worldwide. So, anyway, it's unbelievable.
There's a start in the United States.
Well, it's all over the world. I mean, it's not just here. It's everywhere because they have an agenda. Anyway, and then girls as young as 9 are seeking surgery to have designer vaginas.
Is a designer vagina?
Yeah, and
I can't even say it.
Because the vagina has a voice and it says, I want to be a vagina
that reminds
designer.
Me, you know, when I was working in LA, they had that show called something.
Oh, I know it. The puppet.
Yeah.
Penis
puppet?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was something about vaginas too, which I can't remember.
Well, I don't know. So according to BBC, in 2015, more than 200 girls under 18 had labiaplasty on the National Health Service.
Why?
It says over 150 of those girls were under age 15.
Okay, what is a designer?
Ask the vagina.
No,
it'll tell you because it has a voice.
Does it have like a mouth and everything?
According to this, it does.
A nose.
Because it says that girls are seeking the surgery because they now see it on, you know, all over the internet, what they think it should be. And I just
I've
saw
never seen that.
women, well, you're not looking in the same places that apparently these girls are.
Or you.
Maybe you need a copy of your Teen Vogue, and I'm sure they'll show you. Anyway, and this another surgeon says she's seen girls as young as 11 concerned about the appearance of their personal parts.
That's sick.
And anyway, it says through...
Where are their parents?
It's just been happening, she said, in the last 2 years, even though she's been a GP for over 30 years. So, anyway, like I said, it's ridiculous. And then in Japan...
In Japan?
I've also talked to you about sex dolls and how I believe that eventually, you know, they're going to raise children in a artificial womb, and you're not going to have sex with a partner that'll be old-fashioned and disgusting. You're going to be having sex with a robot. So, in Japan, Masayuki Ozaki...
You watch your language.
...said that the spark of love went out of his marriage, so he bought an ultra-realistic silicone dummy named Mayu.
Dummy's the key word there.
Who shares his bed under the same roof as his wife and teenage daughter. He's only 45 years old.
What?
He says after his wife gave birth, they stopped having sex. He was lonely. He saw Mayu in the showroom. He loved her at first sight. His wife at first was furious when he brought her home.
Yeah, really?
But now she tolerates the doll.
She does, because she probably can't stand him.
And the daughter thought it was a giant Barbie doll.
Which it
Then
is.
she freaked out when she found out what it was and said it was gross. But now she's old enough to share the robot's clothes, so now she's okay with it. Now get this.
This is why Japan lost the empire.
He's a physiotherapist. He takes his doll out on dates in a wheelchair, dresses her. Yeah, physiotherapist. Dresses her in wigs, sexy clothes, and jewelry.
Well, I kind of do that to you.
He admits to be turned off by human relationships.
I could see that.
And that he loves her and wants to take her to heaven. When he dies, they should be buried with him.
Yeah, I think maybe soon.
Back to the U.S. and crazy things. A mom from Ohio. A mom. M-O-M.
A mom. I think you said a mom, like the capital of Jordan.
A mother from Ohio pierced her new... See, I don't know if it says how it is.
Yeah, I saw that.
But it doesn't say, but it's a little baby.
Her cheek.
Her dimple.
Yeah.
And so the internet thought that was so horrible, and the mother thought it was, oh, so cute. If she doesn't like it, she could take it out. But she'll thank me when she's older.
No, she won't.
And then this is my last story is a little bit more on the, you know, I want you to think on this one, please, because...
You already overwhelmed me. I'm like overwhelmed.
This, I told you about this before, the Blue Whale Online Challenge. Do you remember?
Suicide stuff.
Yeah, because the whale beaches itself. So, now in Texas, a Texas family recently lost their 15-year-old son. This game encourages players to harm themselves and commit suicide. So the parents found their son hanging from his bedroom closet. Now this is the next step, which I've been telling you about. What did he do? He propped up his cell phone so he could broadcast his suicide. And I've been telling you this.
I hear that almost every day.
And not only that, but the mother said that he also texted his friends and he told them all this stuff.
And they didn't say anything to the
parents. And they
parents.
never said anything to the parents.
Well, they should be executed.
So according to the mother, that this social media group assigned 50 daily tasks, ranging from watching horror films to mutilating themselves. And of course, the last thing is you kill yourself. So the father said that their son's suicide live stream was part of the challenge, and that he had sent pictures of what he was doing to his quote-unquote friends, and the friends thought nothing of it. So if your friends are seeing these things and they don't think anything of it, that means this is becoming normal.
So do you wonder why aliens do what they do?
So whoever started this is doing it for no reason.
And they should be murdered horribly and suffer.
It has an agenda. And it's in the frequencies, or people wouldn't be doing these things. So
horrible.
Watch what your children are doing. Pay attention.
People, watch your freaking children. I don't care how old they are. And know what they're doing.
And if you're watching this and one of your friends or coworkers or colleagues, neighbors, anybody, if you see anybody doing these things, report them to someone who can help them.
I don't care if you have a 50-year-old son, watch them.
Yeah, you shouldn't be doing these things. And if you're caught up into that, this is your programming activated, so stop. 13 Cube, True Reality of Sexuality. These books will help you, okay? So you've got to stop doing that stuff. And these other books we're telling you, the Hyperspace Helper, this has been out for a long time. These are basic exercises, right? Hyperspace Plus and Healing Archetypes and Symbols.
It's like 1, 2, 3, one in a,
yeah,
in a row.
Really, this makes a good series right here. Okay? But, don't do these things to yourself.
No, that is horrible.
And these also great books, Decoding Your Life, this foundational universal law. If you follow this, get into your own mind. Don't let other people control your mind. And don't do what the outside world tells you. And here's affirmations, 1099, which means there's so many subjects in here. If you're having issues, get the book, open it up to a page, and you can get some help. And of course, we have our membership where we communicate with you every day, almost when we're here.
Every day.
Almost every single day.
And when we're not here, we have others.
We have other people who can help you. $26 US per month, less than $1 a day to save you sanity, and don't do these things.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. So with that said, I also want to remind you that our September Spectacular is like fast approaching. We have our week-long class where we get you up to date on our latest research. We have people from all over the world signing up. If you need a payment plan, do it now and get your travel arrangements made. And then in October, we have our bus trip, which is going to take us to fantastic places where we will talk to you about such things as inner earth, UFOs, Marfa lights, you name it, we've got it here.
Roswell.
It starts in El Paso, Texas, and goes in through New Mexico and returns back to El Paso, Texas. 9 days, 15 meals. You can travel with us and ask us your questions, and we can help you in person.
And I will identify your gender for you.
Well, you will.
I will.
You're going to look and see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have to touch. Because sometimes you can't see in the dark.
That sounds really bad.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So stop it.
Yeah, okay.
So, anything else?
Yes, this. Well, August 2nd, which is coming up.
August 2nd. Okay. You pointed down there.
No. Well, where did I point?
You pointed.
Oh, there.
You pointed here. This is here.
Okay.
August 2nd. This is a big event.
A webinar.
Free.
Is it? It's
Yes.
free. It is free.
It's
It's from Quito, Ecuador, Instituto de Bionutrición, with my friend Dr. Carlos Jaramillo, who I met in Nevis, who's a knight in the order as well. And that'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. South American Time.
Well, it depends where in South America you are.
Yeah.
So you can't really give a South America time. The best thing is if you know it's 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
Bogota, Quito, Lima, it's all that time. Central Time, American Time.
But anyway, so it's for our Latin American people, but Stewart will be giving it in English, and there are a lot of spaces. We bought a really big platform, all free.
There's a lot of spaces.
There's a lot of spaces. Yeah. So I don't know how full it is at this point, because I haven't checked.
I'm not running it, so I don't know. Then in September is our class.
I said that.
Okay. And then in October, you mentioned the bus trip, followed by my possible seminar and consultations in Belgium, which reminds me of that movie with Bob Hope from the 1960s, which I know you were just a little girl at the time. But there was a movie called If It's Tuesday, It Must Be Belgium.
You know, there's probably more people listening to this who were not born in 1960.
Well, then the hell with them. Anyway, and then November, I will be most likely in Tampa for the, what's the word?
Is that in the part of the
with the
Florida?
Where the sinkholes are.
So,
yeah, I'll be bringing my snorkel in case it's sinkhole.
So you told people not to go to Florida.
Yeah, but I have to go.
And you told people not to come to the U.S.
Okay, back to me. I have to go.
So you have all these events here that you want people to come to. But now you're telling people...
Come here first. And if you live, then you can go to Tampa.
And the bus trip.
Yeah.
And the classes.
Right. There you go.
So anyway, that's the news.
That's the news. And there's so much more, but I'm not at liberty to say at the moment.
No, we will be discussing that in the September class.
No, even before that, there's a lot of stuff going on.
So you're not going to tell them about it at the September class?
Oh, by then, yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, we'll see you, and I hope you enjoyed the podcast. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Please like and share with your friends, and share with your friends.
And please identify your sexual parts.
Yeah. Bye.